Okay, Kate. So you've got all the sponsors dialed in. They're listening to today's show.
I do. We've got a double header today.
A double header in what regard?
Wheel of Misfortune.
Oh. Did Mercksy approve it?
He'll be on board.
He will be on board. Hello, Mercksy.
I just want to say I can't wait to go to the town of Alula.
Alula. Yes, that's on there too.
Oh, good.
That is, but I can I can confirm it's not in the misfortune pile.
It's okay. Well,
I have
doing
another
well.
segment idea, but I might just drop that in as we go.
Okay, doing well to avoid the Wheel of Misfortune. But look,
For now.
lives to start another day. It's the Wheelhouse podcast. It's easily digestible. It's barely factual.
It's
Mostly
mostly
factual. We do deal in a fair deal of facts here on the Wheelhouse. It's episode 68, just like that. Catherine Bates,
Yeah.
Olympian world champion, superstar of Australian sport and television. Good evening.
Good afternoon. And currently in the mix for World Coffee Drinking Champion.
Yeah, I saw you had a can of coffee before.
I did. Oh,
Interesting.
That's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? No, I started the day, actually, Mercksy and I met Bron Victor, who we spoke about on last week's
Sisters
show.
of the Saddle.
Sisters of the Saddle.
Yeah.
And I can confirm that they're pushing up to the 400 grand mark.
Oh, my God.
Fundraising
yes,
this year.
amazing.
So that was pretty good.
What an incredible effort that has been. And that's gone up really quickly.
It has.
Really
I bookended
quickly.
the day with coffee.
Yeah.
This morning's wasn't in a can. I can confirm that
It was
too.
in a mug.
It was in a mug.
Okay, very
Yeah.
good. Today, sport watching. The sport watching stress test. Which sport stresses people out the most? You're going to find out. You might be surprised. You might be like, yeah, no shit. We'll see very soon. Protests and their place in world sport. That's another hot topic that we will touch on as well. And of course, the Wheel of Misfortune continues to spin malevolently right here on the Wheelhouse podcast. But let's start with a little bit of news now that we have our new TV studio. Kate, would you like a lead-in for your, like, a bit of news music before you get started on the first news item of the day?
Sure.
Bum, 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 bum. It's news of the day on the Wheelhouse podcast with Katerina Barthez.
I like that. You couldn't hear me jiggling around, but I was doing a little dance to match that beautiful intro.
Wild gesturing.
Well, yes, Mercksy and I took a little wondrous trip in our imagination today to Alula in a Jayco caravan. Do you see
You're
what
kidding
I'm doing
me.
here?
You actually went to Alula. Because I was going to say, yeah, okay, great.
No, because news today, this is the big news, Joel, is that Luke Plapp, Plappy as we like to call him,
Plappy on
one
the show.
half of the Plapp and Boff Madison pair,
Yeah.
he's coming home.
He's coming home.
In a Jayco via Alula. He's back with the Aussie team. That's what
Okay.
He's skipped out on the Poms. He said ciao to Jim Radcliffe,
Yeah.
Sir Jim Radcliffe,
Sir Jim,
over at Ineos.
Yep.
And he's coming back down under.
That's fantastic.
It's very exciting. He had a year left on his contract. He's signed for 4 years now with Jayco Alula, but he did have a year left at Ineos. Why did they mutually agree to dissolve it? Ooh, I reckon there's a Netflix doco in that.
Okay.
But I do believe that he made it very clear his intention that he wanted to return to the Aussie team, and they felt that the best way to do that was not wait until he was at the end of another year with Ineos.
Yep.
But he clearly had desires to return back down under, and so they said, off you go. Little pat on the bum.
Okay. They gave him a pat on the bum on his way out.
That, in my mind,
Okay.
that's what I imagine.
And
Off you go, chap.
Faith
That
from
was really
Jayco,
bad.
4 years as well. That's a good
that's
investment.
amazing. Well, now that we've got Michael Matthews, we've got Caleb Ewan,
Yep.
we've got Plappy. Like, it feels like a bit of a homecoming.
We got Bling.
Yeah.
We got Plappy.
But why are we speaking in a British accent?
We got
when they're the
KU.
Aussies.
Yeah, fair call. Fair call.
But
I got a
it's-
name for the doco.
Oh,
The Plapp Trap.
the Plapp Trap.
Yeah.
I like that.
You can have that one. Okay.
Well, his lady is Georgia Baker. She rides for the ladies
Of course.
team. Power couple heading to Paris next year, both seeking gold medals on the track. So I think that the Jayco Alula Live environment allows them to maybe focus a bit more on the Paris Olympics.
Great.
And have the freedom to do that. So I reckon there's probably some underlying things, motivations in there too.
That's good. It feels weird, but it's good for Australia. It's legitimately good for Australia.
It is legitimately good for Australia. You know what else is legitimately good for Australia? Australia?
Go on.
Mark Renshaw.
Yeah, Rennie.
He's back at Astana as a director.
With his boy.
With his boy,
With
Mark.
his boy.
Mark squared.
Oh,
Mark
okay.
and Mark are back.
You speculated on this.
I did. I mean, they had a little reunion at the tour
Yeah.
for a month. A little French sojourn. Is that how we say it?
Yes.
Sojourn?
Sojourn? Sojourn.
Sojourn. I don't know. That.
Sojourn.
A little summer holiday
Yeah, a little
together.
break.
And Vinokurov, who's the big boss at Astana, just said it's not just his sprint now. It's like he's really good for the team. He's really great at strategy and he's great to have around.
Amazing. We love the Ren
So
Dog.
we do. And look, shout out to his family too, because they moved back from Europe out to Bathurst, have the bike shop out there. He's got young kids. So he's got an incredibly supportive family to support him to go back and do a big trip in Europe. So, you know,
Great.
teamwork makes the dream work. But we've got M squared.
We do have M squared, and now I've got 2 ticks saying good for Australia and good for Australia as well.
Australia.
And I'm also
Yeah.
going to say credit where it's due to you for a bit of oracle work on both Cav not giving it up and Renshaw and Cav somehow inevitably finding their way back together.
Just one of those love stories, enduring love stories,
Yeah.
like Mercksy and I, Joel.
It's exactly like that. That's the example I was going to use. Mercksy?
Speaking of.
If Cav breaks the record, right?
If.
Yeah, well, probably won't. But if he does, the last stage is not into Paris, right?
No, it's
Like,
into Nice.
It's into Nice.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
would he finish, or would he just pack up and go watch the rest on the TV?
Oh, you mean if he wins early on?
Yeah, if he breaks the record early on.
How interesting is that?
Oh.
Yeah, well, if he breaks it before things start to get vertical, I don't know.
See what I'm
Maybe
saying?
he will
I mean,
bail.
I would like him to break the record before he breaks his collarbone. That's all I'm saying.
Look, that's fair. Yeah,
and then
yeah.
what he chooses to do with the rest of his French summer holiday, I think is up to him.
Oh, all the Cav fans just turned off.
Yes.
I'm
Sorry,
wondering
guys.
about that, though, from a team perspective. Are you a little bit like, come on, dude, really? Or are you just like, no, good on you, Cav. Well done. You just ditch us all sweet by us.
You know, it will be interesting actually because the sprinters like winning on the Champs-Élysées, I think
It's huge.
a lot of them hold on for that moment.
Yeah.
Without that moment, I don't know.
You don't think it'd be nice to finish in Nice?
Oh, I think it would be amazing to finish in Nice. It would
Yeah.
be so nice.
Okay. Mercksy.
Sorry, I just thought Kate missed your gag there, and I wanted to say it's very funny.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I think you did.
I work hard for this
Could you
appreciation.
could you get me another can of coffee, please?
You need another can
somebody?
of coffee,
We
basically.
do. While we're talking directors, Carmen Small is leaving Yumbo.
Yep.
And she's headed over to EF Education first. I used to race with her, and she was always such an incredible strategist and motivator. And it's really great to see that there's a lot more opportunities for the female directors now as well, that they're getting poached from one team to the other. Like, I think that's a really healthy playground for them to
Sure
be
is.
in. So that'll be good for EF. I mean, look, they started the year with a bang winning Paris-Roubaix with Ali Jackson. So what can they do next year?
Well, you have to watch this space. You'll have to watch this
you'll
space.
Watch this space.
So we have some other news on the Wheelhouse podcast coming to you from our brand new mystery bunker in an undisclosed location north of Siberia. So the Champions League. Now you're a little bit excited. I've got a note here about Richo. We love Matty Richo. He's got a bit of a potty mouth though.
Well, in the overall standings, he's coming second to Harry Lavrason,
Yeah.
the Dutch prodigy, but he beat him at the last round, and he wanted everybody to know that he was pretty excited about that.
I'd be excited about that.
And he used some flowery language to get his point across in a good way, not swearing at someone, just, a few F-bombs got dropped. They
Okay.
beeped him out.
Oh, they did beep him
Yeah,
out?
they did beep
Can
him
you
out.
do you remember what he said? Like without, we don't swear on this show, but like
No,
a version of it?
Mercksy, can we get you to pipe in here?
He said down the barrel of the lens, I'm fucking back!
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a swept up in the moment.
How good is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And,
look,
you
just
know.
so you and the fans know, Joel, I'm fucking back too. Here I am. I'm
You're
back.
also back?
Yeah.
Are you talking about a comeback?
No. No, I mean, I'm back here for another week.
In the bunker?
Yeah.
Was there some doubt as to that happening?
Well, no, but I'm just stating the fact. I'm
back. Well, in that case, I'm back too. Mercksy, you're also back, right?
I'm
My
back
gags
getting
are
Kate's extra coffee.
My
Good
gags
God.
are falling.
No,
flat today.
I think we are all back. We're all fucking back here on the Wheelhouse podcast, and we're having a great time of it. So, no, that's
But
fantastic.
yes, look, I am getting excited about Champions League track. I don't think it gets enough coverage. You'll always hear me bagging on about, Mercksy has just wandered in with the
Thank you, Mercksy.
with a can of
There's
coffee.
a can of coffee.
Oh, I'm a
See?
happy girl.
He looks after
Oh,
us.
now I'm going to talk about Champions League track even faster now that I have another can of coffee to digest on. Get yourself a coffee, boss. It's literally called coffee.
You're just
boss.
like, I
Anyway.
love Champions League track. I'm like, I know you do. So, no, you don't get it, Joel. I love
Yes.
Champions League track.
Katie Archbold is absolutely slaying it in the women's endurance side. Dylan Bybeck in the men's. Maddie Richardson is up to second now overall in the men's sprint. Elise Andrews from New Zealand is topping the women's sprint at the moment. For all intents and purposes, we don't have an Aussie in the women's sprint.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to claim Elise Andrews.
Okay.
Her dad was the Queensland coach for a while in sprint cycling. That's a close enough association, right?
I'd say it's 100%.
Let's
Yes.
take it.
That'll do. We've adopted for less.
Yes.
Put it that way. Hello, Mercksy.
Why is there no Aussie woman in the sprint? What's going on?
That's
that
a
was my
good-
next question.
That is
yeah.
a good question. I think without having confirmation, I'm pretty sure it's to do with the athletes preparing how they need to for Paris. And the travel is quite different for the Australians than it is for the Europeans. So most of the sprinters are back in Australia doing their thing, really targeted approach. For Richo, it's a bit different because he's got the goods,
Mm-hmm.
but he needs a little bit more racing. So it's almost like his physicality and his speed is ahead of his strategy, and he needs some more time with the racing element and doing the cat and mouse and figuring that out. And I think that what we saw with his delightful verbal confirmation that he's back
Yeah.
is that he needs it from a confidence point of view too. So some athletes like to race a lot. Some athletes like to train and just prepare to put the number on a few times. So, yeah, I mean, in the meantime, claim the Kiwis, right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Default.
That's, yeah.
Not the first time.
God defend Australia.
Yes.
No, I'm interested in that as balance, though, because getting that right, all things Paris, it's sort of, there's been indications recently that has been the shifted focus, but getting that right and making sure that you're not underdoing yourself must be a pretty tricky juggling act.
We're on the green and gold pathway now, Joel.
We are. This is the
To
runway.
Paris?
Well,
We
you know
are.
what?
We
You know
really
who?
are.
I reckon. I got an idea for someone who might be able to give us some insight.
Oh, you're going to make a call.
Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep.
Hey, hello, Joel from the Wheelhouse podcast here. Is Catherine Bates available at all? Great, thank you. Hey,
And-
Kate. It's Joel. From the
Hello.
Wheel-
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh,
Oh, hi.
hello, how you
Hi.
going?
Didn't expect you. I was just cracked open a can of coffee.
Can of coffee. No, okay. I'm sorry to bother you on the spot. I just wanted to ask you quickly about Olympic preparation and when it's a good time to sort of really take your foot off the gas and really sort of channel your energy toward that Paris Olympics or wherever the Olympics happen to be. Or if you need to sort of keep the load up and, really, really hit it with that wind at your back.
Well, you know the old saying, like, you learn from your failures?
Yes.
That's my Olympics summed up.
Oh.
A lot of learning, insofar as I didn't get the timing right for the preparation for any of it.
Okay.
And I really noticed the week before I was absolutely flying, and come race day, it just didn't quite come together. And every time you have a big event or every time you have a cycle like that, you do get better at being able to time your run in and change different things. They've evolved so much now. They have so much data and they know so much about the athletes that they are able to really tailor it to each athlete a lot more specifically. And that's why someone like Richo, you know that he needs more racing. Some of them, they need more time in the gym to do that, really big strength base.
Yeah.
And then for the road riders who are also doing track, it's another balance again. But it's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And you can very easy, because there's a very fine line between the best form of your life and falling off a cliff. And so if you hit form early in the lead in, the coaches are often very, very careful with you because they don't want to tip you over that form cliff, and that happens. And it's quite different to what a lot of the athletes are used to in cycling because it's such a long season. So they have a lot of peaks, but they very rarely peak for one day or 1 week. Even for the Tour, they're peaking for 3 weeks. They often come in a bit underdone and peak by the end. So actually Olympics is pretty special in that regard.
That's genuinely fascinating. I'm completely serious, but I think that idea of an emotional athlete too, because I think that's part of it when you're talking about Plappy with them fucking back.
Oh, yeah.
If you're training, if your peak, you know what I mean, if you're not 100% happy with your training, like on the eve of the games, are you then carrying that mindset?
100%.
You are?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
okay.
Plappy at the last Commonwealth Games, here's a really great example for him. He chose to ride a single chainring in the time trial.
Yep.
And I was commentating with Scott McGrory, and when I realised he was on the single chainring, I said it in commentary, I don't know why he's made – this is an unusual decision to me to make. It's risky because it saves some weight but it's so easy to drop your chain and on an uneven road surface, and that's what happened. He ended up dropping his chain. They hadn't been able to test it properly, and the decision was made essentially because he was a little bit nervous because he was one of the pre-race favourites, and he decided that that's something that was quite important to him, but it was ultimately not really the right decision.
Yeah, yeah.
And they didn't have the time and the lead in to be able to have the conversations about it and have the comfort about it. So those little things, I mean, in my mind, that cost him a gold medal there.
Wow.
And so it is important, and a lot of it does come down to, I just feel this is right, this is sentiment, this is what I want to do. And I think the more you take emotion out of it, the better until the day. Put the emotion in on the day to bring that mongrel out, but in the lead-in, I think it has to be very controlled and calculated.
Don't let it scramble you. Don't let it sort of, okay, that's
No, I mean, you've got to scramble an egg to make an omelette, but do the scrambling before, have the omelette ready, add the salt on the top on race day. Do you like the analogy?
You're on fire, Catherine. Hello, Mercksy.
What about mushrooms? Do you have mushrooms?
Mushies as
in your
well?
omelette?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a good question, yeah.
you know, I'm a
love
bit
a
off
mushroom.
the mushrooms at the moment.
Shallots?
Shallots,
Oh, you're
yes.
off the mushrooms because of the Agatha Christie
I
mystery
am,
that's
I am.
unfolding.
You know, I love
shouldn't
true
laugh,
crime.
sorry.
It is not funny, but
No.
I love true crime.
Yeah.
The podcasts I digest, pardon the pun,
Other
oh my
than
gosh,
the wheelhouse cycling, of course.
are
yeah.
very much true crime. And a lot of my girlfriends use it to calm themselves down. Anyway, it's true.
Yeah.
But everybody's just saying they can't wait till this episode comes out. Like they want to know all the details.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently my mother, who's in the agriculture, horticulture space, says that the mushroom market has not bounced back.
Oh.
So there we go.
no
Maybe
one
we
wants to eat mushies
need
anymore.
to put them in our omelettes.
Yeah, look, no, really interesting insight there. I love that timing being everything, and the emotion, the scramble, shit, I can't do it on this, so I have to make a decision and change the way I usually do things at the last minute, and then shit
none
goes
of that.
awry. Okay. This is the Wheelhouse Podcast. We're talking about eggs, omelettes, mushrooms, and bikes on today's episode. Now, you're having a lovely tot there. I've also got a tot over here.
tot.
So I thought, what a great way to segue into talking about the tot,
The tot.
which is underway.
Yes, a spot of tot.
A spot on the tot on
Yes.
the Wheelhouse Podcast. I refer, of course, to the tour of Tasmania. Now,
Yes.
we got almost irrationally excited about this event last week. It's the
Oh, I
apple in
love
the
it.
eye and all of that. We had
It
all those
is.
amazing jokes
Yeah.
about it. Is it living up to our lofty
Well, there's
lofty
only been
expectations?
there's not a lot.
Not a lot of
about the
tot,
tot.
yacht? Okay.
Yacht, yes. At time of recording, they're in the early stages of the race.
That's enough. That's
but
enough
so
to know.
far, it's a pretty good field. The women start later than the men, but in the men's, like the opening time trial, there was 2/10 to break up first and second.
That's enough to tell me that it's a pretty dramatic tot.
It is. Max Hobson won over Declan Trezise. So, 0.2. So, watch this space. Watch for the tot.
Watch out for the tot?
Yep.
Spot the tot.
Spot the tot. We'll talk about the tot next week. We'll see
Okay.
if we can get our NRS correspondent on the line.
Oh, I love that.
I say our, I don't know who it is yet.
Lance
but
Armstrong,
Mercksy
right?
and I are working on it.
I thought it was Lance.
Sure.
Okay, great.
Yeah, because he's really into the Aussie
Yeah, he loves the
domestic
wheelhouse.
cycling scene.
If not him, Remco.
Yeah. Oh,
Big fan.
He's a fan.
We'll work it
Hi,
out. Now,
Remco.
that's a race that has a little bit of substance, a little bit at stake, something to ride for, essentially.
It's it's a competition.
It's a competition.
You can
It's
win.
It's a tourney, for sure. We've spoken about this before. Now, we've spoken about races that are essentially exhibitions and, showcases of the sport, but not exactly competitive. And you want to talk about this, and I want to talk about it as well. The crits are back. Now, you have a position on this, I believe that is... What's the point of a crit? What's the point?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, so the the ASO, and I'm laughing because on my show notes here, instead of ASO, I've written ATO.
The Australian Tax Office has a lot to say.
Look, I was
about the
doing our
crits.
BAS earlier today. That's probably
Okay.
why. But anyway, not
Okay.
the ATO. The ASO puts it on in Japan. They do one in Singapore as well. And it's
Yeah.
essentially just a road show with all the cyclists.
Yeah.
Small issue for me that they don't invite any of the ladies.
Yeah,
We can park that for another day,
agreed,
but there is
yes.
that. But essentially, they just roll them out. And this criterium was on a 3.3K circuit. I'm probably not surprised to know that Pogacar won.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because it really suits him.
Yeah.
Out-sprinted Kuss
Yep.
in the final.
Except, of course,
They
goes
were in a
down.
break with 3. Peter Sagan was up there too, but he got dropped.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But he hung on for 3rd, and Cav
Oh, wow. This is
pipped
dramatic.
the post
Yeah.
to get 4th.
It almost sounds staged.
Almost.
Yeah.
Now, I know that in other sports we have exhibition games.
Yes.
Friendlies, if you will.
Of course we do.
But they're still played to win.
Some of the best games ever are friendlies. Some of the
Yeah.
most competitive. There's nothing friendly about a friendly.
But
in
this
football.
isn't a friendly.
Yep.
So other than the wrestling, is there any other sport? I couldn't think of any other sport that it's not just an exhibition, it's a staged exhibition. Like normally in exhibition sport, they're showing off the best of their sport and they're still competing hard.
Interesting. Circus acrobatics?
I don't know. I mean, there's probably Cirque du Soleil. I love Cirque du
I
Soleil.
do love that.
There probably are a lot of fans
Yeah.
who really don't care. They just want to see Pogacar and Froome and Cavendish in the flesh.
Doing the business.
Yeah. Like people turn up to watch the Brisbane Broncos train.
Well, hopefully they'll come back. Everyone's still a bit sad about the grand final, but
Hey,
look,
look,
I've got
if Parramatta fans are still turning up to watch, I
Yeah.
reckon the Broncos fans
I have
are
a
fine.
probably elongated and nonsensical line of thought on this. So I love that you used the example of the Brisbane Broncos. So the Brisbane Broncos are, until this year, a one team town, whatever you want to call it, with a massive membership base, an average home crowd of 40,000 plus, that have a genuinely rusted on fan base, as I say, a genuinely loyal, thick or thin, fair weather, bad weather fan base. It makes sense that people have elevated Brisbane to that sort of hero sort of status and they want to see them in the flesh. They want to do that kind of thing. I don't think them going to watch them train is the NRL even needing to try and win over new people. If the Broncos were to go to a market that isn't saturated with rugby league and do a showcase game where they had, oh, look at that, oh, wow, Adam Reynolds has just miraculously scored a try to win the game with, 5,000 defenders hanging off him, and you wouldn't see that in the NRL because it's clearly staged. I don't hate that as much because it's like if you're talking about Japan and you're trying to break into a market and sort of build the sport there, the non-inclusion of females notwithstanding, because that's atrocious. But I can see a little bit of logic to it. As long as you have your figureheads, as long as you have your profiles, the guys, should be girls, I'll say again, that are appearing on the covers of magazines, that are appearing in AI form in some weird circumstances, that are
Yes.
appearing in Netflix documentaries, that are the faces of the sport. If they're there demonstrating, pressing flesh, meeting fans, having a chat, and just showing a gentle example of how cool it can be, as long as the sport is doing enough to then say, if you like this, you wait till you get to check this out. I don't mind it as much. So I don't think the Broncos in this instance are the Broncos in their hometown are the comparison. Mercksy?
I love it.
You love crits or the
I
Broncos?
love the crits. I love that you got Chris Froome taking
Yeah.
selfies with Peter Sagan,
Yeah.
Tadej Pogacar with Cav. They mix it up. You get to see and get up close to them.
Yeah.
Autographs.
Yeah.
I like
I
it.
agree. It's
Fun.
a shot into a new market, and you have to go big. I love that we use the NRL as an example. They're going to Las Vegas.
That's true.
Go to Las
Okay,
Vegas.
all right. I'm swayed by that.
Okay.
I must say that's compelling.
Did I
And
just Patrick Swayde you?
Well, I just thought that that's a circumstance where I would take the kids along to watch.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be about who won or not. It would be, look at what we're watching.
Absolutely.
So, okay, all right, I'm on board.
Look who that is.
Yeah.
Is that the guy from that doco, whatever?
Yeah.
Is
And
that the
I'm
guy from
actually
that
pretty
movie?
sure that a lot of people who go to the Tour Down Under don't even know what happens at the end of the day. They're not even there. They're there to see them in the village or to watch them,
Yeah.
but it's not even about who wins. So, okay, all right.
Well, when you're talking about athletes like Sagan Peter and Pog, even pretending to be good by them is still pretty good. So they're like half pace, we're only mucking around is still,
Still pretty
10
impressive.
times the speed of a day cyclist. And, it's still impressive. And obviously from a team's point of view, from a national point of view, as we've been talking about with certain showpiece events around the corner, they're not going to commit to these sort of things to a bone-rattling extent. But they need to commit to showcasing, promoting, selling the sport. And I will finish this little rant by saying that the UCI and the bodies involved need to enhance this demonstration, this showpiece, and this come and check out our sport by including the whole sport and sending the girls along as well, because we've seen some ridiculous performances this year alone in the women's peloton.
Send the women along and I'm happy.
Can you imagine demolition in the crit?
Well, one of the reasons I even bring it up is because imagine how much the fellas are being paid to go out and do this.
To promote the sport?
So
Yeah,
get
of course.
the women in on it.
Yeah. So have we flipped you on crits?
I think so.
Mercksy, can you just make a note? I think that's the first time we've ever flipped Kate on a point.
Yep, but I'm here for it.
68 episodes.
Mostly factual.
Mostly factual. God, what did I say at the start? Barely factual. Thanks, Mercksy. Okay, I don't mean to protest your crit thing, but I do want to talk about protests. And geez, these segues just keep getting better. I'm going to put an egg timer on this one so we don't get too gushy and righteous. So basically, we're talking about protesters at the UCI Worlds that they've been in court this week, a little bit after the event. That's how the court process works. This isn't a legal podcast. You can look that up elsewhere.
Yes.
It just does. So I guess the question is the way they went about these protests, and this is what I want to talk about, the way that you decide to basically hide and spring yourself out on a peloton and superglue your hands to tracks and that sort of thing.
Well, and we know the details now.
We do, yeah.
Because they have been, and this is the actual word, admonished in court. That's very British, isn't it?
admonished.
Very British.
Yeah.
They hid in the bushes until the peloton was coming. They jumped out. They set off pink powder cannons.
Oh, I love the powder cannons.
Superglued their hands to the ground, put a D-lock around their necks collectively. Keys got tossed into the grassy verge, I assume before they superglued their hands, and there they stayed.
Mm-hmm.
But it... Mercksy.
Hang on, this is at Worlds, right?
Yeah, this at
The Worlds,
Worlds.
yeah.
Yeah.
And they were charged and admonished
Yeah.
for disturbing the peace. So it does beg the question, is, what kind of civil disobedience or peace disturbance is tolerated in sport?
Oh, I can't think of anyone better to answer this than Mercksy.
Well, I did hear that Matthew van der Poel sent them some brownies to say thank you.
He ducked into a local farmhouse.
That was very well done.
We won't talk. Look that one up, please. If you haven't heard about that one, look it up. It's worth.
I think
it's
the
worth checking
episode
that.
is called "The Poo, the Shoe,
Yeah.
and something else." Yes, but it's been happening a little bit, and we got the egg timer going, so we better stick to that. But
Sorry, I'm still laughing. Some brownies, yes.
This is rigged, is who they were protesting for.
Yeah.
Oil, just oil. They came out at Wimbledon.
Mm-hmm.
Around the Ashes, it came out as well. So
Best thing Johnny Bairstow did all series. Best thing.
Ouch.
No,
snap.
let's be honest.
Well, but the question is sport politics. Can we divide them?
Look, okay, there is a lot to protest about going on in the world at the moment. Let's look at it that way. Potentially, there's a lot of that. I don't want to get into being this is where they shall stand on. It's not about that. I just think when you're doing things that are putting a group at risk. So this is non-athlete protest. This is the protesters that are currently in court. If you're doing something that risks, let's be honest, pretty serious injury, widespread to it, like let's talk about a peloton. We've seen pelotons come down. It's never pretty, and it's very rare that any rider comes out without at least a little bit of damage, and it can be very, 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 very severe. I think that that's quite irresponsible, and I really respect the right and the need to have yourself heard and have that podium, if you want to call it, to share your thoughts or your disdain on certain matters, but you have to find a way to do it.
I think maybe placards on the side of the road that are in shot of the cameras or something, rather than gluing themselves.
Rather than risking hospitalising 100 people.
Yes, well,
basically.
I think since we're talking about safety and since we're talking about sensibility, really, aren't we talking about that?
We are. Sense and sensibility.
I'm going to segue aggressively into a new segment that I am launching this week. Joel, it's called What Now at the UCI. What do you think?
Do you want me to keep the egg timer going, or do you want me to?
You can keep the egg timer going. We'll keep this quick. No, it's this week in the UCI every week. The 6.8 kilo bike rule. Right. So there is a rule that your bike must be weighed before a road race. It cannot weigh less than 6.8 kilos. The rule was put in place in order to maintain some kind of safety standards, so they didn't get radical with bike designs and strip it back to carbon that was so light that the bikes would break. Essentially it was a bit of a safeguard around that.
Yeah.
And for a while it's been a bit of a non-issue because with the addition of disc brakes, even the lightest frames, the overall weight went up. Mm-hmm. So it was not really a big deal. But last year at the departure of the Tour de France, the average bike weight was 7.92 kilos. In 2023 it was 7.45 kilos. Uh-huh. So nearly half a kilo dropped because of tech.
Not insignificant, forward. Yes.
And so we're coming perilously close to the 6.8 kilo mark.
Okay.
And the UCI is not prepared to budge.
They're not going to budge.
They're not going to budge. So in the past, before disc brakes, what we saw was people having to add lead weights to their bike to make it heavy enough. And the UCI thinks that is more sensible than getting rid of the weight limit. So that's this week on What Now?
What Now
at
UCI.
The UCI.
So they're basically looking to going, look at this user manual is already this thick. Do you honestly think we want to rewrite it?
Look, Joel, it's Tech Reg 1.3.019.
Yes.
The weight of the bicycle cannot be less than 6.8 kilograms.
Why are you looking at your notes? I know that you have that memorized. So, why are you?
I've been through the damn manual so many times now,
I know.
Joel. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's my place here each week to sift through the manual and find the next ridiculous rule.
I love that you do that. This is what you call a peaceful passive protest. We're currently protesting, what is it, 1.3.019 of the UCI manual, but correct. We're doing it from the sidelines. We're doing it respectfully.
And safely, yep.
I like it very much. Now, Catherine Bates on the Wheelhouse podcast. We've got sport and finance coming up, but before that... Dun 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 dun. It's the Wheel of Misfortune making a triumphant return after somehow eluding the careful editorial ears of Mercksy last week. Catherine Bates has another instalment. Will it survive for another week? Catherine?
I think it will. We've got a double header.
Does Mercksy know?
No.
Oh, no. You've got two Wheels of Misfortune.
Be tolerant. Yes, we do. Firstly, the internet is melting down, Joel. Tolerant. And with the internet melting down, people are tossing their Apple Watches left, right and centre because what has happened is there's a glitch in the new update that it keeps auto-pausing. So they're connecting to Strava and they're going for a bike ride
Yeah.
and their watch keeps auto-pausing.
That's
and when
annoying.
they get back from the ride, big chunks are missing.
That's infuriating.
Now, if it's not on Strava, did it even happen? That's the, ultimate question.
no, if it's not,
here.
if you haven't drawn the rocket ship,
No. So, exactly. How
Forget
do you
about it.
draw a rocket ship with autopause?
exactly,
Ah.
exactly. That would look like a a different sort of rocket ship.
It would look like a different sort of rocket
Yeah.
ship. The internet has enough to melt down about that. We don't need that anymore. My second Wheel of Misfortune this week
Yes.
is Daniel Des. He was second at the Tokyo Olympics in the BMX, the Venezuelan rider. He's known for his flamboyance. He's had a Barry Crocker this week, Joel.
Yeah.
And he's fallen twice at the Pan Ams, which is a qualifying event for the Olympics.
Up against competition that wouldn't necessarily.
He
Make
was
him blink in
expected to
form.
win.
Yep,
I think
yep.
that's the way we can put it.
That's better.
Now, he planned on winning there, going on to Paris winning and then retiring. So in his mind, he's had it all planned out. Didn't go to plan.
Something's gone amiss.
And afterwards, he's told waiting media that he plans to go home and incinerate his bike.
Oh,
So we have a BMX bonfire.
he's going to
To,
burn. He's going to burn his bike.
Wrap up the Wheel of Misfortune. I think the unfortunate part there, the misfortune is befalling the bike.
Oh, they feel really sorry for the bike. Somebody
What he
please
did
think
do.
of the bike.
I know.
Hang
there
on.
we go.
So, did he said this in a press conference, in an interview?
Yeah, afterwards. Yep.
Wow. Talk about the highs and lows. So
Yeah.
we
He was a grumpy wombat.
got
Yep.
we've got I'm getting back, and then we've got
I know, we
"Get
do.
burning my bike.
I know, we do. One
All
makes
in the one
news,
episode.
one makes Wheel of Misfortune. So
Yeah.
I think we're balancing it out pretty well here.
I look. That was okay. Mercksy, what did you think of the double hit Wheel of Misfortune?
Just give the people what they want, Joel, I suppose.
That's encouraging.
I think I am.
Yeah, we had 2 emails about it.
Thumbs up
Yeah.
emojis.
One was a mailer, Damon. The email you sent was addressed to the wrong.
Yeah, the other one
Person.
was from Jude, her mum.
Saying,
Love it, Kate.
love
it, Kate.
you, darling.
Proud of you,
Yeah,
darling.
Where can I buy the board game?
Hey, that's a great question. It's a great idea.
That'll be available in the Wheelhouse online store within the next 3 years. Now, you two stress me out so much. No, you don't. I love you both. But I was watching lots of sport, let's be honest. But the one that's got me this year is probably I'll start in rugby league, the State of Origin. It's always very stressful getting to the will they, won't they, until Queensland kick ahead and win by 600
I'm sorry.
points.
The overtime Matildas.
Yeah,
I was literally holding my breath and
Yeah,
sheltering my eyes.
just forget about that.
That was
was
stressful.
Huge.
I
Yeah,
think
it
I'm
genuinely
pretty
was.
sure I'm not the only one to have gotten some grey hairs from that Matildas campaign.
Yeah, okay.
Stressful.
Ashes as well. I thought Australia, when they had to get those couple of wickets to win the just actually win the series, and they couldn't get the wickets. It was doing my head in. Brisbane Broncos. Don't even get me started on the Brisbane Broncos. But anyway, some sports and the viewing of them can cause the viewer a fair degree of stress. Now, this is a really interesting topic. You know what? It's a genuine off-season topic. This is a perfect off-season
Really
topic.
getting
It's
into it.
like-
Yeah.
it's the season of stats and stress. So we're looking at a report. So there's been a survey last month. So we're right on it, of course. And 1,249 US-based sports fans have basically said, what are your favourite sports and what stresses you out when you're watching them, and how do you manage stress when you're watching big sporting events? And 60% of respondents, again, 60% were male, so stress heads, 39% female, 1% identified as non-binary, the average age 43.8, so a fair, not a terrible representation of an dedicated armchair fan. And Catherine, you might be surprised. Well, you won't be because you already know. But those listening at home might be surprised by some of the sports that came out on top. I was struck out when I found out the first one. You could not pitch it to me. I would not buy you. I wouldn't. No, go back to home base. There is no way that is a thing.
So I guess it's not cricket. There's no
It's
home base.
certainly not cricket, Catherine. No, it's not. It is the sport of baseball. Believe it or not.
Baseball, I don't know that I can actually see why that's so
I can't.
stressful.
That's
I've
my
been
thing.
trying to see why it would be so stressful, but some of the games are long. I mean,
Oh,
they're
they go
like
forever.
Test cricket games. Like it's not the action-packed nail biting.
Yeah.
Like you can kind of see from a mile away what's going to happen or not going to happen.
I don't get.
If there's any baseball fans, I might
I
get
would
some
love
comments
to know,
on that.
and with full respect to baseball, I'd love to know. But I guess it's at the bottom of the ninth, 1 out. 1 out renewed. I don't even know how the sport works, but they got basically one bat left and one pitch left, and they have to score 2 runs to win. I don't know. Mercksy has a thought.
It's going to be pretty stressful watching Jonas Vingegaard on the gravel at the Tour.
Oh, he's going to be pretty stressed.
Yeah, I think
get that.
You and the family should put in for some knee pads and elbow pads for cousin Jonas.
Oh,
for
I thought you were
Christmas.
going to say should put in for some stress leave, and I was
Sure.
down for that.
That
well,
too.
cycling fans, they were 6th on the list.
Okay.
And this isn't of all sports. We're just looking at the top 10. Like the fact that we made the top 10.
It's huge, yeah.
Yeah, I also reckon it's pretty good for cycling in the US. So I would not have thought with 1,400 or 1,600 American sports fans, I wouldn't even have thought cycling would be that high.
Would be up
so I'm
there.
impressed with that. But you're probably not too surprised at what came in 10th.
What was 10th?
Golf.
Oh, golf. Oh, that's a stressful sport.
Is it though?
Oh, 100%. Are you kidding?
So,
Augusta.
Hold on, right.
70-second,
It's the putting.
The putting, okay.
70-second
Very
green
stressful.
Tigers.
So then what do we think is, and they didn't go past the top 10, what do we think could be a sport that is in 20th or 30th?
I think badminton would be right up there.
Just
for
not stressful?
Elite badminton.
Not stressful at all.
Oh,
you
not
think?
stressful.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
like what's down the bottom of the list? that
Curling.
People.
Curling.
Oh, I do actually.
I find curling
I'm with you
therapeutic
there.
to watch.
I do love watching curling.
It's peaceful.
The frantic brooming.
Yeah, 100%.
I like that.
But I mentioned the cricket before. I'm being stressed during the Ashes. I love watching cricket, and I actually find that quite calming as well. I think it's the sheer amount of green on the screen, and the wide shots of the big
Yeah.
oval, and
Lots of
it's just
hedges. and-
yeah, it's very sort of da da da. Da.
Well,
I would have thought track cycling is stressful.
Yeah.
Track cycling is stressful. I know Bradley McGee, one of our most decorated track cycling Olympians
Friend of
in
the show.
Australian history. Yeah, friend of the show. We had him on talking all things Caleb Ewan, if you recall.
Of course.
His mother, Carol, used to hang out with my mother. Carol and Jude used to turn their back on the cycling.
They turn their back on the track.
They would go into the velodrome, but they would face the other way because it stressed them too much
I
to
was
watch
stressed.
what was going
They
on.
had a little drink in the Yeti, didn't they? Is that
Yeah, I'm sorry, Jude. I'm sorry, Carol.
And we're
We
not
love you
talking about
very
a can
much,
of coffee,
but
are we?
They did take water bottles in, like biddens,
With vodka in them.
gin.
Gin. Oh! So, I'm 16 all over again and raiding the liquor
But it was
cabinet.
a clear liquid, and nobody at security ever stopped them.
Did anyone go, oh, Jesus.
Well, no. Look, I think so. There you go. That's how the. Sorry, Carol. Sorry, Jude.
We love you both, but
we
sometimes
do.
you just need to get by.
I think that's how they manage the stress. But look, this top 10 list, let's
Yeah.
roll through it. Baseball,
Yes.
ice hockey,
Oh, yeah. I've been to a game of ice hockey and it was rather stressful.
basketball.
Oh, yeah. I think because I can see it with basketball because of shot clocks. And because you can literally have a timeout with 3 seconds left on the clock and you're a point behind or you're 2 points behind. You have to hit a 3 or you have to hit a bucket to win in 3 seconds.
All right, we've
That
got
sort of
that.
stuff.
Tennis is next.
Sorry, I'm going to keep going here. 1998, Michael Jordan winning shot for the Chicago Bulls. 5.2 seconds left on the clock. Look it up, listen to it. The commentator's going 9, 8, 7, and the whole crowd's just like, oh, he's like Jordan gets on Jordan in and out, Jordan. But if he misses that shot, stress.
I think welcome to the off season here at the Wheelhouse.
It is off-season.
This is such a meandering journey through the week. I love it. We've got tennis in 4th, American football in 5th,
Yes.
soccer in 6th.
Put it
I'm
higher,
sorry,
way
Matildas,
higher.
that
Yeah.
goes higher.
Yeah.
Mixed martial arts
Yeah.
is in 7th.
Meh.
To me, bones crunching, that's pretty high as well. Cycling, there we go in 8th. 9th is auto racing.
Auto racing.
Like F1, I guess.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know.
Eh.
That's such an American
Not
way to say
F1.
it.
Not F1 at the
Auto
moment
racing.
because Verstappen is so far ahead of everyone else.
And
that it's
then
not stressful at all.
and then golf. But the other
You're not
information,
seeing golf,
I'm
are
not
you?
really. No, I mean, because my experience with golf and trundling around the golf course with my dad, it was very relaxing, and so I don't. When I watch it, I mean,
Tiger
I
is 2 shots ahead. He's hit a bogey on the 17th. He's putting for par on the 18th green.
I mean, have you ever considered that you might need to get your anxiety looked at because you're finding watching sport a lot more stressful
Catherine,
than I am.
I don't think you understand. If he misses this part, he loses.
And life
that
goes
green
on.
Jacket.
And life goes on.
The return to glory. That's one of the best bits of commentary ever. Okay, no, look, I agree on certain ones. I think football, get it right up the list. Formula One sometimes, but at the moment, get it down. But cycling, I think cycling has a pretty good place. I think we've seen a lot of demonstrations, even this year, of, antics and certain, I thought I'd won, but I hadn't won, and massive, massive battles through incredibly difficult terrain, accidents, mechanicals at the worst possible time. And I hate to say it as well, but health, like medical issues, all that kind of thing, it's pretty stressful. It can be pretty
I agree
stressful.
with that. I mean, probably not too surprising to know that cycling fans said that public speaking was more stressful for them than watching sport. But it fell in between public speaking and a DIY project.
Oh,
That's like, there's your context.
DIYs.
So there you go.
That's right up there for me.
What about a grand tour comes down to the last stage of a time trial to win it? That's stressful.
Yeah,
And
that's
happened.
stressful. Yeah, I
mean,
mean, that's how Cadell Evans won his tour.
Just
Let's not
a
forget
time
that.
trial on a wet surface.
But that
I
that
find that
stressful,
stressful.
for us or them?
Stressful for
I'm stressed. I
Us.
hate to see
stress
them
just
go
thinking
down.
about it.
Yeah, going around those corners, going, slow down, hit the brakes.
Okay,
It's an
alright.
interesting
I
report,
mean,
though.
Maybe we need to do more of the riding and less of, to balance it. I don't know,
Yeah.
balance out the stress.
Okay, no worries at all.
It's
Wheelhouse
just a theory.
podcast, off-season special.
Maybe,
episode 68.
Maybe lay off the cans of coffee.
Brought to you
is
by
my tip for the day.
6 cans of coffee that Kate has had today. And you're running around, having a good time.
I am. I'm
How
not
fast can you run?
not very fast. Not as fast as Freddy Ovett, who did the New York Marathon in 2 hours and 37 minutes.
That's pretty sharp.
Look, his father was an Olympic gold medalist in the 800 metres, so fair to say he's got some
He's
pedigree.
got run blood.
He's got some run blood.
Yeah.
But yes, that's another wonderful off-season perk
Yep.
for anybody, really into the stats and the data, is if you jump on Strava, you can follow them all doing little runs.
Would you advise
Little
running
runs.
for a cyclist? Like,
Good
technically?
question. In my day,
Yeah.
all we did was ride.
Yeah.
We really didn't do anything else. But also in my day, 2 out of 3 pro cyclists were already already osteoporosis, right? Bone density
Yeah.
well below average, brittle bones, setting yourself up for a broken hip when you're 50. So that's no good.
No, not ideal.
And what they've realised is that because cycling's not weight bearing, it's really bad for bone health if you aren't walking, if you aren't weight bearing, if you aren't running, walking, doing weights, stuff like that. And so the
Okay.
old school thought of cyclists should just ride their bikes is kind of out the window now.
Okay.
And they're really encouraging the athletes, especially to increase their bone health, because they know that still about 2/3 of the male peloton, their bone density is considered low.
Right.
Still.
So a lack of impact
Yeah.
is causing a
Yeah.
great deal more
You don't
risk.
put enough stress on your bones
Yeah.
when you're sitting on a weight protected
Yep.
saddle all day for the
Interesting.
predominance of your training. Yeah, so they're getting out there more and more, and they're very good athletes. I mean, no surprise there.
Well,
But
yeah, they go all right.
Surprisingly fast runners.
Yeah.
For people because the cycling motion and the running motion is quite different.
What was Freddie's marathon time
Yeah,
again?
2:37.
2:37.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yates has gone under 3 hours. Van Aert, Evenepoel, Romain Bardet, Calmejean, they've all knocked these whopping times out of the park.
What was out of interest? What was Wout's time?
He didn't do a full marathon, so I can't compare.
But yet you found a reason to
I
include him
did.
in your list.
Yep.
Yeah. Mercksy, your thoughts on the Wout inclusion of the week?
I'll edit this bit out.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know you thought
Dodgy.
you'd got away with that one then, didn't you?
I did. But I will leave you with this.
Yes.
Tom Pidcock, Feathers.
Feathers.
Love him.
He has a Strava record for
Biggest rocket ship?
for a 5 mile.
Okay.
That is apparently so fast. It's only a couple of seconds slower than the British record. It's now being challenged. So somebody has highlighted it and said to Strava, We don't believe it.
You're kidding.
No. So I'll leave you with that thought this
What
week.
happens if that gets
Follow
proven?
that
Does that
story.
spill over into his cycling integrity as well?
Oh, I guess it would.
Oh.
Yeah.
Could that besmirch him?
But it could be. It could be that he had an Apple Watch on.
Oh, true. It could have been.
Like it could have been the auto pause.
So you're not talking the Mexico City Marathon where he's like cheated
No.
half the
I'm
course?
talking
Okay.
like an off-season training jaunt.
Yeah. Do you remember that story?
No official-
11,000 people cheated in the Mexico City Marathon.
They got on buses and
Yeah,
stuff,
like-
didn't they?
No, just not very subtle about it. Excellent. Look, that's fantastic. We'll be
There you
interested
go.
to
We
see how that
can-
goes. I hope Tom can get back onto Strava and drawing out those rocket ships before too long.
A
This is the
5-mile
wheelhouse.
rocket ship.
A 5. That's a lot of rocket ship. That's a lot of rocket ship. This is the Wheelhouse Podcast. My name is Joel Spreadborough. Your name is...
Katerina Bartes.
And Mercksy's name is...
Mercksy!
It's been such a pleasure.
This has been ridiculous.
It's
This has been the most ridiculous episode we've ever had.
I've had fun.
I think I need more coffee from a can.
As you can see, if you're watching, and if you're not watching, I'll describe it to you. We have a beautiful monitor here showing where you can find us on all the socials and whatnot.
Socials, yes.
Do that. Let everyone know how much fun we have here and how much Kate has enjoyed this episode. And we'll be back to do it all again next week. And I can't resist here in saying that next week is episode 69. See you
It'll be
then.
our best yet.